Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Cover Zero podcast, the show where I cover the least in the best way possible. I'm your host, Jason Wells. Today is April 17th, officially 1 week, 1 day, 8 days away, I guess I should have said, 8 days away from the first round of the NFL draft. I am very excited. Other than that, again, not a lot happening other than draft stuff. We obviously got a couple extensions that just happened, a couple signings. We'll talk about everything in the NFL Weekly Update. Yeah, do I have any updates? Maybe. I went to 613 Flea over the weekend. Got a lovely Minnesota Vikings Central Division winners. Central Division obviously isn't a thing anymore. I don't know when they got rid of that. Probably when they expanded, like I have no idea, with the Jags and the Panthers maybe. But yeah, so I got that, and for the people who say like, "Oh, aren't you a Dolphins fan? You can't cheer for." Shut up, shut up. I'm an NFL fan first and foremost. If the Dolphins were to fold tomorrow, I'd be very, very sad. But life would go on, the NFL would go on, and me watching football would continue to go on. I don't know who I'd be a fan of if it wasn't the Dolphins. I think I'd do like a trial run. I'd give it a year, and I kind of do like a Bachelor kind of thing, and I'd narrow down my choices to the end. I almost did that. I thought about doing that if the Dolphins would have signed the nasty man. Thankfully, they didn't. Thankfully, Tua is our quarterback. Yeah, do I have any other kind of updates? No, not really. Yeah, I guess so. This episode always NFL Weekly Update, and then also going into, I haven't actually figured out how to like phrase this because it's not like, oh, my top 5 gems or my top 5 sleepers in the draft. It's like my top, like, it's my guys. It's my favorite players of the draft, I guess you could say. Some higher round guys, some lower round guys. We got some day 3, day 1, even some day 2s. That's how the draft works. Yeah, so I guess let's get straight into the NFL Weekly Update. Starting off with a death in the NFL world. Orenthal James Simpson, better known as OJ, died. Died from cancer that no one knew that he was battling. So yeah, dead at 76, and I honestly don't know how to like talk about this because obviously we all know what OJ did. He murdered his wife and her, it's not mistress if it's a man, but whatever it is, they were having an affair, and allegedly OJ killed them both. But this is one of the few times where people talk about, well, when people retire or when people die or whatever in the NFL world anyways, it's that guy was he was a better person than a football player. That's what a lot of people said about JJ Watt when he retired. He's a better person than he is a football player. With OJ, you can easily say he was a better football player than he was a person because he was a fucking sick running back. Had 2,000 yards in a 14-game season. I think he averaged 143 yards per game. I saw that somewhere, didn't look it up. Take my word for it. OJ was very good, obviously, a Hall of Famer, Bills legend. Went on to Hollywood to act, was in The Naked Gun. Like, weirdly was like a fairly big actor. And then, yeah, obviously, the trial and everything around OJ was, I guess he's a pariah. I guess that's a word that you can use to describe him. But like, I wasn't born for any of that stuff. I know OJ obviously is the guy who, legendary NFL running back, actor, murderer. But like, a lot of people know OJ for his just weird, kind of funny videos on Twitter. A lot of them fantasy related. I saw one that popped up again where he drafted Andrew Luck, and I guess it would have been the 2019 season. 30 minutes right before Andrew Luck officially declared his retirement from the league. And he was like, Andrew, how you be doing me like that? Yeah, obviously OJ, bad guy, but a character, I guess you could say. It's really weird, like, because we all know he killed people, or it's pretty, like, the courts fucked it up, but, like, I guess what you can say is OJ was a character at the end of the day. Yeah, I guess I'll just move on because I don't really need to talk about OJ anymore, and I will never have to talk about OJ Simpson ever again. Look at that. We have some contract extensions here. Josh Allen, not the Bills, Josh Allen, not the Josh Allen that's up there on my wall, actually. No, Jags, Josh Allen, the edge rusher, signed a 5-year, $150 million extension, 88 guaranteed, obviously AAV on that if you're good at math. 30 mil. That puts him right up there with some of the highest paid edge guys in the league. And yeah, he is a stud. He is probably, I think I'm probably forgetting people from his draft class. Oh, I think that was the draft class with Nick Bosa. I think that was like the Clelin Ferrell, Nick Bosa, Brian Burns, Josh Allen. I'd say Josh Allen is probably the second best pass rusher of that group. I think Max Crosby might have been in that draft too, and obviously Max Crosby is fucking phenomenal. But yeah, very very good player. The Jags had him on a tag. I'm sure he is very happy to be off that tag, and he is a building block. He is a blue chip elite player, someone that every team in the league could use a guy like Josh Allen on their team. Very good deal. Very good for the Jags to get it done before we get into the actual start of the season, like training camps and I guess voluntary OTAs started this week. We will keep going though. Another extension here. Devonta Smith of the Eagles, 3-year, $75 million extension, 51 million guaranteed. So 25 million a year for Devonta Smith. Sounds like a lot of money. It's like, oh, they're paying a wide receiver 25 million. For who has to get paid right behind Devonta Smith, it was great for the Eagles to get this done because you're looking at guys like Justin Jefferson still needs a deal. CeeDee Lamb needs a deal. Jalen Waddle still needs a deal. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Brandon Ayuk, Amon-Ra St. Brown. All of these guys are going to need deals, and all of them will surpass that 25 mil AAV of Devonta Smith. Great of Howie Roseman to get it done. They locked down a premier wide receiver in this league. Obviously, him and A.J. Brown, one of the best tandems in the NFL. So good of the Eagles to get that locked up. Do I have any other thing? I enjoy that his nickname is the Slim Reaper. I don't think he likes that, or maybe he does like that. KD didn't like that, but I think Devonta Smith, Slim Reaper, staying in Philly for at least 4 more years. Because Waddle, no. This is what 5 more years. Because he's got the last year of his rookie deal, the 5th-year option, which they'll pick up, and then 3 more years on top of that. So 5 more years in the Eagles jersey. Let's keep going. Another extension. DeForest Buckner of the Colts. 2-year, $46 million extension. Again, that puts him at 23 mil AAV. We talk about these premier defensive tackle guys who are getting paid. I think that Buckner is a top 10 defensive tackle. And Christian Wilkins is getting $4.5 million more than him. I say it every time. I love Christian Wilkins. I'm happy he got that bag. That's fantastic. Still a lot of money. Still think the Raiders overpaid. But yeah, talk about Buckner. He is truly the heart and soul of that defense if you really think of it. At least the front seven, anyways. Um, he is a monster, probably future Hall of Famer. Maybe I don't know about that actually. He's close. Definitely future Hall of Very Good if that's any consolation there. But yeah, Colts keeping him in house. I forget how old he is. He's getting up there in age. He's definitely into his 30s now. So he kind of gets that payday for 2 more years, and then we'll see. He'll probably be like a mercenary, like a Calais Campbell, kind of bouncing around trying to win that ring. Yeah. Next signing here, the Seahawks have signed guard Laken Tomlinson to I think it was a 1 year, $4 million deal. Helps shore up the Seahawks interior. He obviously signed that big ticket with the Jets after getting drafted by the 49ers. Didn't work out with the Jets clearly, and Jets cut him, and now hopefully he can regain some of what he had back in the NFC West again. I'm hoping this means that the Seahawks won't draft Troy Fotano now, because I want him to be a Dolphin. Little side conversation here, but he is one of my guys in the draft. And I'll get to gush and rave about him very soon. But yeah, Laken Tomlinson is a Seahawk. 2 more things here. The Jets have unveiled their new jerseys. New jerseys, put that in air quote. They look the same. Like they added some stripes on the arms and the collar's a little different, but like I don't know, they kind of just look the same. I'm not really people are like, "Oh my god, these are incredible. These are like they're fine." I think that they're an upgrade of like what they had before, but like wouldn't say it's a major upgrade. It's kind of like a retool if anything. Good for the Jets though. Sure. And last note up, the Packers versus Eagles in Brazil has been confirmed on that Friday after the Thursday night kickoff. So yeah, we get a kind of very good NFC matchup right off the gate. Obviously, the Eagles, they stumbled that second half of the season while the Packers surged up, and it'll really be telling going into the year of how that game plays out. Because if the Eagles come out and they kick their ass, and it's like, okay, this really young team of the Packers, are they taking a step back and it's going to take them some time to get going? On the inverse, if the Packers kick the shit out of the Eagles, and it's like, okay, the Eagles have way more issues than we thought that they did, and what is their plan now? This should be a close game. These are two of my top 10 teams going into the season. Yeah, I don't think that that'll change. Should be a very good matchup. We still obviously don't know who the Chiefs will be playing on their Thursday night matchup, but Thursday night football, Friday night football, I'm a fan of it. Yeah. So let's go into my top 5, my guys, my favorite players of the draft. We'll start off with some honorable mentions here. I got 4 of them to talk about. Mo Kamara, Lad McConkey, Cooper DeJean, and Mason McCormick. We'll start with Mo Kamara quickly. So undersized pass rusher out of Colorado State. Reminds me of a little bit of Elvis Dumervil in my Hall of Very Good. He was also a very smaller frame. I think Elvis Dumervil was 5'11". So Kamara has the height on him. Very like nothing. There's nothing you can change about Mo Kamara's game. That like, or what am I trying to say? There's nothing you can change about his game. Like the one thing that you would want to like is for him to just get taller, get a little bit more length. It's just he's short. It is what it is, or he's short for the position. I should say. I guess he's my height. But he's got power. He's got pass rush moves. It's just can he do it on the NFL level at his frame? Some guys have, but I guess we will see. He'll be in kind of the early day 3 range, I imagine. Yeah, but Mo Kamara out of Colorado State. Obviously, Lad McConkey, who I have been talking about a lot during this draft process. the receiver out of Georgia, I think 5'11". He ran a 4.39. Fantastic route runner. Play him on the outside, play him in the slot. I mean, people think he's a slot because he's just a white wide receiver and all white wide receivers play in the slot. But no, he is an outside guy. He does have that top end speed. One of my favorite receivers. I mean, he's one of my guys. He's one of my favorite guys for this draft class. And I just think he's going to be really good. Like, I think his floor is he is like he's a plus Hunter Renfrow. Like, it's Hunter Renfrow if he sustained his career. Like, I think that Ladd McConkey is going to be a player in this league regardless. And obviously, the inverse of the white wide receiver, we get the white defensive back, Cooper DeJean. Talked about him last week. I clipped it out last week, but I really like him. Can play any position in the secondary. He's a good athlete. Actually, he's a great athlete. What am I saying? He can return the ball. I just think, again, I said it last week. Put him in your defense. He should be able to play somewhere in your defense, and if he can't, that's a you issue. That's a skill issue on your part. Cooper DeJean is great, and I hope that we get to see a good starting white cornerback in this league. So all of the white little boys and girls can look up to be like, that can be me one day playing in the NFL and playing corner. Because I didn't get that experience. Okay. That was ridiculous, but it was also kind of funny. Let's keep going. And final honorable mention here, we have interior offensive lineman, center guard, pick your poison, but that's a bad thing. So I won't say that. But it is South Dakota State interior offensive lineman, Mason McCormick. He's obviously like South Dakota State. That's a very small school, but he has shown out in I believe it was the Senior Bowl that he was out. He looked really good. And then at his combine, his short shuttle number, I think, was a 4.45, and that hits that sweet spot. If you remember me telling about if offensive linemen run a sub, I think it was 4.45 or less short shuttle. Like, I think 26 of the 29 guys who did it were like career starters in the NFL. So it's just a good stat to have. I like Mason McCormick. Probably going to be late day 2, early day 3 type guy. But I do really like him. Yeah. Okay. Let's get into my top 5 now, I guess. Starting off with number 5, we got a quarterback. And this quarterback actually lost his job to the guy who is going first overall, and that is Caleb Williams. And you should know who I'm talking about, but if you don't, it is Spencer Rattler. So Spencer Rattler, obviously a very, very high-rated recruit coming out of Texas, maybe. That sounds right. Either way, he was on that QB1 show on Netflix, which talked about or followed around high-end high school prospects and where they would go and blah, blah, blah. And Spencer Rattler on that thought he was the shit, the top dog, whatever. He goes to Oklahoma. He plays well. He plays pretty well. Like, not the Jalen Hurts or the Kyler or the Baker type stuff, but like good, very like above average, better than good, not great starter in college. That was rambly. And then here comes Caleb Williams, another high-end recruit, and just steals the job right out from under him. And Caleb Williams never looked back. Obviously, we know what happened with Caleb Williams. Spencer Rattler then transfers to South Carolina, puts up some pretty good numbers, and now it is his turn to enter the NFL draft. Now, this is probably a spicy take. Spencer Rattler is my QB5 of this draft. Now, this doesn't mean that I think that he'll be like going early day 2 or even back end of round 1, because some people think Penix and Nix are going to be like, potentially sneaking in there. I just think that he has a higher ceiling than guys like Nix and Penix. I think they're probably all roughly similar athletes. I think actually Penix is a very good athlete, but his injury history is insane, and he doesn't use his athleticism anyway, so it doesn't matter. But there are throws that Rattler makes on tape where he gets the ball, it's a quick rush, and he's throwing off his back foot, and he still has pop on the ball. Like, it is like a very hard throw to do on tape, and he delivers it accurately. I just think that he has more talent in his arm than guys like Nix and Penix. And I think his floor is probably roughly the same of those guys too. Yeah, I like Spencer Rattler. I don't think it's like a love. I still think he'll go late day 2, maybe early day 3, I'd like to say, but I think he has a better chance to be a starter than Bo Nix, than Michael Penix. And maybe it's just because Penix has that injury history. Bo Nix has been in college for over a decade now. And I think that Spencer Rattler has grown up. I think that he realizes that there are better people than him out there in this sport. And I think he's kind of worked his ass off quietly, and he won't be a starter come week 1 this season, obviously. But I think that he is good enough to be a project, definitely good enough to be a backup in this league. But I think that there is a path for him to potentially, obviously, the comparison would kind of be like a Russell Wilson. Like, I think Russ was a round 3 pick, like a round 3 pick quarterback, like going up the ranks. Obviously, Russ was incredible immediately, so I won't make that comparison. But I think that there's a better chance that Rattler starts more games in his NFL career than guys like Bo Nix and Michael Penix. That might be crazy, but I don't really give a shit. Yeah, so Spencer Rattler coming in at number 5 on the My Guys list. Coming in at number 4, we got a cornerback. We have Quantez Stiggers out of the Toronto Argonauts of the CFL. You heard that right. And partly why he is one of my guys is he has that CFL connection. I think that that is very cool. And you're probably wondering, it's like, okay, well, why is it CFL? Why isn't it college? He never played D1 snaps in college. I don't even know if he played D2. So his story, or how his story goes, is he was a late bloomer in high school. He hit a growth spurt. He's 5'11", I think 205 or something like that. So he was like a strictly return guy for his high school. And then all of a sudden his senior year, he starts playing corner. He's good. And the plan was to go to an HBCU down in the States. I think it was like a Div 2 school. And then COVID happened. So canceled season. And then unfortunately his father passed away, and he kind of took responsibility, man in the house, left school, quit football. And then all of a sudden the fan controlled league came about, and he was like, okay, let's give this football thing a shot. If you don't remember the fan controlled football league, I think Johnny Manziel was one of the like faces of it, which is wild. But it was basically like fans could go on their phones during the games and like pick the plays or stuff like that. And that's where he kind of got noticed. I think he had 5 interceptions during his season. I have no idea how many games it was. Don't ask me that. But and then through there, got some notice of some CFL guys, played in the CFL last year, was the defensive rookie of the year, and now it's his turn to enter the NFL draft. He's going to be a day 3 guy. I just love the story, and you can't not love the story. And like everyone on this list, it's not that I don't know if they're going to work out as NFL prospects, obviously, but you got to cheer for a guy like Quantez, a guy who quit football basically to take care of his family. I think I read somewhere that he has 13 siblings, which is insane. And a chance for him to earn some like generational money for his family potentially. I am pulling for him. If it doesn't work out in the NFL, the CFL will always be there for him. I'm sure that the Argonauts would be happy to welcome back their defensive rookie of the year. That's for sure. But yeah, Quantez Stiggers, number 4 on the my guys list, my favorite guys. Still haven't really thought about how I should say it. Next up, at number 3, we have running back Isaac Guerendo out of Louisville. Again, you have heard me talk about this man a couple times now throughout the podcast. 6'1", I believe, 210, blazing fast speed, very good athlete. And the question that a lot of people ask about him is he a power back? Is he a speed back? And the answer that I can give you is yes. Yes, he is. Yeah, so obviously I think I want to say 6'1" and in between 210 and 220. I think closer to the 220 side. Ran a 4.3 40. Very good athleticism. Limited touches in college. So this is a guy who you're just banking off traits and athleticism and just being like, he just didn't get his moment to shine in a college. And I think it is going to be a case for him where the NFL game is better suited for him and what he does than college. College is a grind. The NFL can see that man is a talented motherfucker. That man is a freak athlete. We can make it work, especially at the running back position where you need to be a freak athlete for it to like really work for you. Yeah. So obviously, very good runner. Was also a former wide receiver. Very like good out of the backfield, strong hands. There's not a lot to really dislike about him. Obviously, the dislikes are he was injured a lot. He did not start. This was kind of his only year, and he split the backfield with another Louisville running back who I don't know his name. But Guerendo will be there on day 3. Miami Dolphins, please pick him. We don't have enough picks. I don't know if we have the luxury of drafting a running back this year, but I would love a guy with his size and 4.3 speed to work with Mike McDaniel. That just, I don't know. Just give us all the 4.3 guys. What can I say? Next up, coming in at number 2, we have Xavier Leggett, also out of South Carolina, the 6'1", 220 wide receiver. And he has been a riser for me, like, fairly late in the process. I think March is when I was kind of like, okay, no, he's a legit dude. Like, I think right now he's my wide receiver 5. I think I'm confident in saying, obviously, we got the big 3 with Marv, Odunze, Neighbors. I still got Brian Thomas in that 4 spot. I had Ladd in my 5 spot, and I think I got to give it up. I think that Leggett has the ceiling of those guys in the top 3. Like, I think he can develop into a top 10 receiver in this league. His athletic profile and his size profile are truly like the 1%. Like, you find me guys who are over 6 feet, over 220, and run a 4.3 40. I think the list is less than I can count on my hands. I think it's less than I can count on one hand, if I'm being honest. It might only be him and Calvin Johnson. I'd have to look that up later. I'll probably forget because of the ADHD thing, but maybe I'll look that up. But yeah, so people are worried about him. He was kind of a one-year wonder, and it's like, okay, like, pause for concern. He only has 1 year of like really good production, but I mentioned it a couple weeks ago. I didn't go into too much detail because I didn't really know the full background of everything that happened. So, like Quantez, he gets recruited, highly recruited. COVID happens, stops play, whatever, and then not one of his parents, both of his parents pass away tragically. And obviously, that takes a huge toll on anyone as a person. It's kind of hard to think about football when you're a 19, 20-year-old, both parents gone. Then he gets in a motorcycle accident, misses part of his season. Then there's a coaching change. And then it wasn't until the end of the 2022 college season where he got into a bowl game, really shined, and they're like, okay, let's see what you can do. And then he finally broke through in that last year, and I'm very happy that he did. He's one of the best athletes in this class. I think like his yak ability, His route running, it isn't great, but it is definitely above average. And it's someone who is raw as a player and as a prospect, but it's also someone who is like, just like, you get to work with this person. You should be very, very fortunate. Also, I think the list of the guys who are over 6 feet and 220 and ran 4.3s are Calvin Johnson, Xavier Leggett, and I think DK Metcalf. That might be it anyways. I just thought of DK because obviously there's the comparison. Leggett obviously shorter than DK, but comparison is there nonetheless. Yeah, Xavier Leggett is very, very fun. I saw like some draft like odds of like over under on when they'll get picked. I think that Leggett was like end of round one type thing. Like he might sneak into round one next week. It is a very heavy wide receiver class. We'll see how many of these guys go, but I I think that he is going to be a very, very good player. I think he is someone that I will be drafting to almost all of my fantasy teams if I can. Obviously, we got to see where he gets drafted, because if he gets drafted to a team that just flat out doesn't have a quarterback, then fuck that, never mind. But I think that he is going to be a great receiver in this league, and that's why he's one of my guys. And finally, I teased it already, but it is left tackle Troy Fautanu out of Washington. Yeah, so a lot of people project him inside the guard. He doesn't really have the arm length that is ideal for tackles. He looked fine at Washington, and I think that he will be able to. He's athletic enough. He's just an ass kicker, really, but he can play tackle, but he will be an elite guard if he plays guard. It's just the ferocity and the tenacity on this man. There's a video on Twitter that goes around of him cut blocking one of the edges, and he sends that edge back like 3 yards. He gets him at the legs, and that guy just flies back. And he is my number one pick for the Dolphins at 21. I doubt he will be there. I don't think that he should make it past the Seahawks at 16, especially because Kalen DeBoer, who was the offensive coordinator, or what is it? I think his offensive, yeah. So I think Kalen DeBoer is the offensive coordinator at Washington, and now he's the coordinator for the Seahawks. And his offensive line coach, who I don't know his name, is also the Seahawks offensive line coach now. So, yeah, the connections are there, the ties are there, and they need help on the interior. They potentially need help at one of the tackle spots too. But he would just be a dream for Miami. You start him at one of those guard spots, and then when Armstead retires next year, you just slide him in at left tackle, and boom, bang, we're good. He is a monster. I think he's a top 15 player for me in this class. It's just really, it's his versatility. If we're being honest, I think that he is going to be a special player regardless of where he plays on that offensive line. I think that he will be a very good tackle. I think he will be an elite guard in this league, though. Yeah, and that's why he comes in at number one, Troy Fautanu. Yeah, that'll kind of do it. That was pretty good. We're probably going to be around the 35-minute mark here. Do I have anything else left to add? Draft is next week. Obviously, I have to find a good time to, or I have to find a place to watch that with the boys. And I'm fully on board with the Dolphins trading back at 21. That's kind of my ideal thing. We don't have a third-round pick. I would like a third-round pick in this draft. But we will see. This is a very good draft, though. I am very excited about it. So, yeah, next week will be the mock draft episode. I will kind of give my final notes on every team going into the draft, what I think they should do, what I think that they shouldn't do. And, yeah, we will go from there. So, yeah, I guess that'll do it. If you have liked this, please like, share, retweet, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And until next time, peace.